So you probably heard of or maybe even received the Microsoft 2026 Work Trend Index report this week. Maybe your CIO forwarded it to you. Maybe a board member sent it over with questions attached. Whatever the route, the message inside is the same. Microsoft is telling you that the bottleneck on AI value is no longer the technology. It's no longer the workforce. It's your organization. It's you. Now, I read the report, and I want to walk you through what it actually says. Because the conclusion the executive in your seat is supposed to reach is that you need to spend more money. That's the real argument. The report is dressed as research, and it's nothing more than a sales document. Now, here's the capital exposure Microsoft says is sitting on your P&L right now. The AI license spend you approved last year is producing no measurable behavioral return for 87% of the people you bought it for. 65% of your AI users say they fear of falling behind if they don't adopt AI quickly. 13% say they're rewarded for redesigning their work with AI, even when the results don't immediately show up. Now, think about that 13% condition carefully. The implication Microsoft is making is that you should be rewarding your people for AI work that doesn't produce results. And this is what Microsoft calls in the report the transformation paradox. There's no paradox. That is a measurement and incentive failure. You bought the licenses. The metrics around the people using them did not change. The behavioral return did not show up. And Microsoft's answer is that you need to buy more tools. Let me tell you what this report actually is. The methodology page of the report states in its own plain language that the respondents who were selected never or do not know when asked about using AI at work. Those people were screened out of the survey before the data was collected from them. Now again, Microsoft excluded anyone from the report who did not already use AI at work. This year, Microsoft surveyed 20,000 workers across 10 countries. Last year, the same survey covered 31,000 workers across 31 countries. They cut the sample. They narrowed the geography. They removed anyone who would have given them an answer they didn't want. What you're reading is a survey of Microsoft's own customer base, used to tell Microsoft's own customers what they should buy next. The data set is the funnel. The conclusions were available before the survey was even fielded. Now, Microsoft says agents on Microsoft platform 365 grew 15 times year over year, 18 times in large enterprises. What they didn't do was to disclose any baseline. The methodology page says that all metrics are expressed as shares and ratios, but with no absolute counts. 1 agent to 15 agents is 15 times growth. 1 million agents to 15 million agents is also 15 times growth. Without the denominator, the number is nothing more than a marketing artifact. It can't be evaluated. It can't be compared to anything. Your CFO would not accept that number from any vendor in a renewal meeting, and it should not be accepted from this report either. The report claims that 49% of Copilot conversation support cognitive work, analyzing information, solving problems, evaluating, thinking creatively. Now, Microsoft uses this to argue that AI is expanding the type of work people can do. Here's the part of the data that does not appear in the headline. The chat experience that produced this data is the same chat experience that lives inside the Edge browser already. It's not a separate product. Every Microsoft customer, whether commercial or public customer, has access to it. The deep integration into Word, Excel, Teams, etc., that the sales team quotes you $30 a month per seat is built on top of that same chat. The report does not separate the two. Microsoft is reporting on how people use a chat tool that is broadly available across their entire customer base and presenting that usage as evidence that the paid product is expanding the kind of work people can do. It's a usage metric. It's not an outcome metric. And the report is classifying what people typed into the chat box. It's not measuring whether the response was even useful. It's not measuring what the work product was. And the board does not approve budgets based on usage. They approve based on margin. There is not a single sentence in this report about margin. Now, the report identifies a category of users it calls frontier professionals. And 16% of AI users qualify. 80% of them say they produce work they could not have produced a year ago. But look at the qualification criteria. The methodology page says this in plain language, that to be classified as a frontier professional, a respondent has to report a combination of 3 distinct behaviors: advanced use of AI agents to complete multi-step work, routine redesign of workflows to take advantage of what AI can do, and participation in structured AI practices that scale beyond individual use. 3 compound behaviors stacked on each other. The number lands wherever Microsoft needs it to land. Tighten the criteria, the number drops. Loosen the criteria, the number rises. And the 80% who say they produce work they could not have produced a year ago, that is self-reported productivity from people who self-identify as power users in a survey funded by the company that sold them the tools. 3 layers of bias presented as outcome data. The report introduces 4 labels it uses to describe how people work with AI. Okay? Delegation, collaboration, asking, and exploration. The naming is the product. AI is not a coworker. It's a software that automates tasks. Every executive who has worked with software for over 30 years already recognizes these patterns. Asking is asking. Delegation is delegation. They're not new categories of work. They're how people have always used software. Naming them does not produce insight. It produces an asset Microsoft can put on a slide. Now, look at the argument the report is making about leaders. The leaders section of the report is titled, in plain text on page 11, that the job of every leader is to re-architect work. That's the section header. It's not critics framing. It's Microsoft telling executives that the job in front of them is to redesign their organization. Now, the forward is written by a Harvard Business School professor that Microsoft commissioned, and he puts it the same way. The question is no longer whether AI matters. The question is whether a firm willing to redesign itself around what AI now makes possible. But read those both carefully. Here's the translation. We sold you licenses. The licenses are not producing return. The reason the licenses are not producing return is you. You didn't redesign the work fast enough. You did not align your incentives. You did not model the behavior. The accountability for the outcome has migrated from the vendor to the buyer. The report's prescription is that you redesign your operating model around what makes AI possible. And the redesign requires Microsoft tools to be in place. The diagnosis was timed to the cure. Here's what the report, though, doesn't tell you. There are 2 things that have to be true before any AI tool produces measurable return. And the report ignores both. The first is process. Every company on the planet has processes built on top of older processes built on top of older processes. If you point an AI agent at a broken process, the agent automates the broken process. It just does it faster and at scale, but with less visibility. The reason your organization has not implemented heavy automation already, it's not that AI was missing. It's that nobody wanted to do the work of mapping and redesigning the processes. AI doesn't redesign your processes. It doesn't know how your business runs. A human who understands the operation has to redraw the flow first. The agent goes on top of the redrawn flow, not before it. And the second is data. Your data is not normalized. Now, I covered this in detail in my previous video, and I'll leave a link at the end to it. Your ERP produces the financials. Your accounting team supplements them with financial spreadsheets sitting on individual desktops. Your operational data lives in 3 different systems who don't talk to each other, and no tool produces a clear answer when pointed at the data that sits in that condition. Not AI, not RPA, not automation. The data has to be normalized first. Then the tool can do its job. And the report doesn't address either of these things, because addressing either of them would tell you to slow down and do the work. And Microsoft does not benefit from you slowing down. Now, if we take a quick step back from this specific report, look what's happening across the vendor landscape right now. So Microsoft is telling you the bottleneck is your organization. And the Anthropic CEO is telling you that SaaS is going away because Claude can write software for you. The same companies that sold you platforms running your business are telling you that you should build your own platforms again. In one breath, your existing technology spend is just wrong. In the next breath, new technology is the answer. That's not a coincidence. The AI infrastructure build-out produced hundreds of billions of dollars in capital expenditure. The revenue to support that expenditure has not yet arrived, and probably never will. The vendor strategy has shifted from selling to convincing. The report's a part of that convincing. But here's the sentence I want you to take into your next board meeting. Microsoft is documenting a capital allocation failure and selling the diagnosis as the cure. That's what the report is. 87% of the AI users you paid for are not rewarded for using the tools. The license spend sitting on your P&L without behavioral return. Microsoft's answer is that you need to buy more tools to fix the problem that the previous tools didn't solve. So if your board chair or anyone else sends you this report and asks what to do about it, the answer is not to redesign your work to match Microsoft's prescription. The answer is to ask whether the processes are mapped, whether your data is normalized, and whether the AI license spend you have already approved is producing any measurable returns at all. The answer to any of them is no. No additional tool will change that outcome.